What sex ed, if any, did you get?
Sex ed? Are you kidding me? In Mississippi?
Hello and welcome to the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast. I am your host, your roast coming queen, a girl who is kind of dressed like her teenage self today, Alise Morales. And with us today, guys, we have such a funny friend of the show. He is an actor, comedian, and podcast host who you've read about in Vulture and seen on Fallon, Colbert, and HBO's High Maintenance. But before all of that, he was a graduate of William B. Murrah High School. It's Jay Jurden.
Hello, go Mustangs.
Mustangs. That's a good mascot and a classic mascot, I feel.
It's a good mascot because if you're cool for your 16th birthday, you can get the mascot as a car. I did not, but other people did.
Did you have a car in high school?
Oh, yeah. The first car I drove was my grandmother's, no, it wasn't a Buick. It was an Oldsmobile 88.
Ooh.
That was the first car. And my grandmother wasn't driving it as much anymore, so that kind of became my car. It was bequeathed to me. And then I got my very own 2005 Mitsubishi Galant in 2005. Yeah, and so that was...
Was the first car, like, would you have to do the thing, I always remember this, where you would put like a cassette in and then hook the cassette into your phone to play a song?
I got the system in that car taken out and put in like one of the little radio faces.
Got it.
So then it could do a couple of CDs. And it was like, I'm going to age myself. This was pre-iPhone. This was pre-iPhone, yeah. Because, like, iPhones didn't come out until my freshman year of college.
I'm trying to remember because now that I'm thinking about it, like, people didn't really have iPhones when I was in high school either. So maybe that's actually more of a college memory for me, those cassettes.
I remember the college aux, like, adaptation cord, like the adapter. But like in college, so many CDs. It's just CDs. And so like I used a little bit of money from work to buy like a new radio for that car. And then my grandmother, whenever we'd switch off, she did not know how to use it at all. I effectively locked her out of any listening to any sort of gospel on AM stations.
Oh no, poor grandma. She's just listening to your CDs.
Just a lot of Young Jeezy. That's it. You're going to have to deal with it, Sarah.
Okay, so William B. Murrah High School, what flavor of high school was that? Is it like a public school, private school?
So it was a public school in the capital city of Mississippi. But it was a public school with a couple of like cool additions. So I went to that public school for high school, but I also went to a performing arts school in conjunction with that school system. So I went to my theater classes the last 2 hours of the day every day.
And was that like, did you leave campus for that?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But the theater building for the Scholastic program for APAC, I want to say the Performing Arts Complex School, it was just down the road. So when you could drive, you had enough time to go to the closest Wendy's and then come back, so you could get Wendy's in a break, which was like when you finally had a car, or when you were like friends with people that had a car, you always went to Wendy's. Like you always went to Wendy's. If you had enough time, you could go even further and go to like this very local southern chain called Backyard Burger, which was like, so it's just like a Mississippi burger joint, but you could go to either one of those places, and then you'd be like the cool junior or senior walking in with like food.
Yeah, for us, that there was a like shopping center nearby that had a Chipotle and a Noodles and Company. And like if you walked into school with the Chipotle, it was like everyone would know, like, oh my God, they went off campus.
They don't care about the soft rules at school.
They purchased lunch.
So I was part of the theater program, and I'd been doing theater since I was 12. So I went
Mm-hmm.
through all of middle school and all of high school doing that. And so in middle school, you attended your theater classes in the morning, and then you got bused to your respective middle school like 2 hour, like an hour or 2 hours later than everyone else. And then in high school, they flipped it, so all of your
Mm-hmm.
stuff happened at the end of the day.
So, I mean, this is in many ways a theater kid podcast. So you're gonna you're gonna have to take me through what are the Jay Jurden major roles
Oh
of
my
middle and high
gosh.
school.
Okay, so when we did The Outsiders, your boy played Emilio Estevez's
Ah,
character in the film version 2-bit. I
wow.
wore, I want to say, I wore like, it's like just a white t-shirt and denim jacket or like a denim vest, like that whole
Yeah.
sort of vibe. But so that was like a fun role. At one
Mm-hmm.
point, I
Outsiders is
think,
a classic middle
oh,
school moment. It doesn't.
Outsiders. If you don't do Outsiders in high school or middle school, then I don't know what you did.
Like what did you learn about? If you were
Yeah, how you
if
don't know about Soda Pop and Dairy and Johnny and
and Stay
Dallas?
Gold, Pony Boy, and all this. I mean, I remember watching the movie though in
Rob
middle school,
Lowe.
and that's a sexy movie to put on for a
Yeah.
group of middle schoolers.
It also it shows you what money can do because you get to see Tom Cruise's real teeth.
Yes, Tom Cruise's real teeth are in that movie, and don't they make a comment about like Cherry? There's that girl, and they
Yeah.
make a comment about her, like if she has red pubes too, or
Yeah,
something.
like so yeah, well because like the whole
Floored
idea is
me.
that like the Socias they were like the Socias girls, but then like the reason that the greasers were so attractive is because like they were gonna fuck. It was like
None of that was lost on me
oh.
when we watched that movie.
So I did that when I was in high school, and then senior year, I wrote a bunch of sketches for like a thing that eventually I guess proved that I should pursue comedy
Mm-hmm.
like 15 years or however 12 years later. And then what else went really what else was like a lot of fun? Oh, so you do I did the Wiz. I was the Wiz in the Wiz. Richard
Okay,
Pryor
I was
played it.
Glinda in Wizard of Oz.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yep.
And we double cast. So there was also, I just for the sake of fairness, there was a
Mm-hmm.
white whiz too. But everyone was like, Jay, we like you doing it more. But we did have to double cast this. I was like, that's fine. I don't care.
That's very fun.
And the Lion Witch in the Wardrobe was like kind of like a much bigger cast, so they had to get some high school kids and some middle school kids. So they were like, I want to say our Lucy was a middle schooler,
Mm-hmm.
and our Edmund, and I think Peter and this other sister were high school freshmen. But I was Mr. Tumnus. So I did. I mean, I worked.
You did.
I
I know. I
booked. I was
was like,
booked in high
right?
school.
Yeah. I'm like, Teen Jay is booked, busy, and blessed. He's got a lot on his plate. So
Yeah.
it would be fun to start putting that in as people have you on shows to be like, you've seen him as
Oh,
Mr. Tumnus.
yeah. Elise, first show back. I might be
Yes.
like, yeah, you can say like whatever credit you want. Could you say that I was 2-bit in a high school production of The Outsiders in Jackson, Mississippi? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that I was good.
Oh, that
People
was
thought I was really
hilarious.
good. So, okay, let's talk about Teen Jay's social life. So, were
Oh,
you friends with other theater kids, or was that more a professional thing for you and social life was
so
separate?
I hate that this has become a Ryan Murphy podcast, but I was lucky enough to be friends with theater kids and like football kids
Mm-hmm.
and like some AP class kids. So it was kind of like a good mix, an eclectic mix. The high school was probably like 80% black and then like 15% white and then 5% other. And so because I was in AP classes, like there were a lot of people that had a bunch of extracurriculars, because if you're already taking AP classes, then you're going to do
Mm-hmm.
extra shit on top of that, because that's the kind of personality that they've cultivated since middle school for you. So I
Yes.
was taking AP classes, and so you'd have people that play football but also that did theater. So one of my best friends, Christian Vance, he did both, and that was like one of my ends. And this
Hmm.
was like before you knew you could do that. So there were like clear lines of demarcation that you were
Yeah,
like breaking. You were like,
that's the
this
plot of
is
High School Musical.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's that he's like, can I be in the play and be
Can
on the
I?
basketball team? And it's like,
Yeah.
no one knows if he can.
Well, they know. That's the weirdest part about Troy not knowing is that he sings about basketball. And you're like, so dog,
Yeah.
you don't basketball about singing, so we know which one you like more.
Listen, Troy, we can all see what's in your heart, babe. You want to
You
be in the
made 3
play.
movies.
And I also love that, oh my God, Vanessa Hudgens' character. What's her? She's always
Gabriella?
just Gabriella. She's always Vanessa Hudgens to me. That her thing is like, can I be in the play and do math?
Oh, oh my gosh. Yes.
And it's like,
Yes,
of
of
course.
course.
Those two things actually have a sacred bond.
I was notoriously bad at math.
I was bad at math too.
Wow. Okay. This is why I
Yeah.
feel it. I felt it digitally through the internet, which famously designed by people who love math. But I'm not one of the folks.
No, I had and I've talked about this on the podcast. I had an antagonistic relationship with my algebra teacher, and I mean my relationship with math was not good before that, but after that it was just completely broken.
There was a really cool math teacher at my high school. I never took any classes from her, but she was so nice to me, Kimberly Van Uden, and she was
Mhm.
super chill. And everyone was like, "Oh, Jay, you love math. If you took it with her," and I was like, "No, I wouldn't."
That's the thing is no.
And I was like, "Is it still math?" Oh, well, then, yeah, yeah. So that's the part that's kind of tripping me up. Not whether or not my teacher's cool, great, cool. She's a very nice lady, but
Mhm. It's like it would make it a more enjoyable experience, I'm sure, but it's not that I'm not getting the like a good performance from my
yeah,
teacher.
I hated it. Wasn't customer service for me. Yeah, I hated math so much and loved science that when
Interesting.
I took chemistry and I was like, "You have ruined science. You put all this math in here."
This is actually math.
And I was like, "This is math." They're like, "No, no, no. You just got to find out how much these things weigh." I was like, "You say that, but there's some equations involved. I'm solving for things.
Mhm.
I can tell you. We could talk about the properties and categorization and qualifications of things. Maybe we can even get in like some form changes. But once you start making me solve for letters, don't I know what this is?"
And that's the real thing is you're solving for letters, and my brain has never gotten around that. Once they started putting letters in, it was really downhill for me with math.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I didn't have to take math my senior year. I think
mhm,
my last math class was junior year of high school,
mhm.
and I was taught by a man named Mr. Hamilton, and it was trigonometry. But what it
Yeah.
really was we just babysat Mr. Hamilton, who was not a good teacher at all. His daughter also went to our
Mhm,
school, and his daughter was named Gia or Gina. I think it was
mhm.
Gia. Super pretty, had this like down to the middle of her back, long curly hair, and everyone was like, "Oh, Gia, your dad is crazy, but he looks so good today." Like every guy who ever hit on her was like, "Man, your dad. We have to basically babysit your father in this trigonometry class and like make him think that he's teaching us, but also, what up?"
So what was his behavior like in the
So
class?
he loved math in a way that sometimes he would just forget to give us homework. He would like He would be more interested in making us enjoy and love math. So
Mm-hmm.
he was one of those people whose passion outweighed like being a pragmatic math teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you with so much confidence that I did not deserve the grade I got in that class,
Yeah.
but I got it. So then I went to college and I had to take math freshman year. It was like college algebra. I think it was freshman algebra or whatever they called it. I did so bad. I had to use my freshman forgiveness. You only got two of those at Ole Miss, where you get to replace a class. If you
Mm-hmm.
take the same class twice, you get to replace it with the highest letter grade that you got on between the two. And I did really bad the first time because I was a freshman, and I also discovered marijuana and MGMT. Shout out Oracular Spectacular, and then I had to like take it all over again the next year.
Jay, can I tell you that the exact same thing happened to me at the University of Delaware? I failed my first math class. I had to use it as my one my takeover,
Yes.
and it's because me and my friend Tyler got high every day.
I don't think enough people are saying this.
Like,
Okay, here's another confession, but this is from high school.
mhm,
For driver's ed permit test,
mhm.
failed the first one. Ooh,
I failed mine. Oh my God,
failed it.
Jay!
Failed it.
How'd you
Failed it
fail?
and lied. Okay, so I rolled through a stop sign. I was kind of herky jerky with the brake, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just nervous. I'd been practicing where I lived, but then I didn't practice where the test was going to be. So it was a neighborhood that I just wasn't familiar with. Jackson is notorious for
Mm-hmm.
having a bunch of potholes. And so they could just tell that I was too nervous behind the wheel, and I failed it. And I told people I was taking the test that week. And so, people asked, and I was like, I pushed it back to, it's in a few weeks. I lied.
You know what? Something actually came up, and
Yeah.
I had to
Man, who
reschedule with
wants to,
them.
you know how dangerous driving is? Okay, have fun with that.
They've actually been begging me to take the test. I told them, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
get
yeah. And
off my
plus,
ass.
like, man, you know how the DMV is. I had to get back here and school y'all. That's what I had to do. You're lucky. I think that I probably I was a reckless driver also in high school.
Mm.
There are a couple of side mirrors, not mine, but other people's. RIP. Sorry. And nobody knows. I can talk about it now because
Hmm.
this was 2005. This is 2004. People
Yeah.
were wilding out back then, but oof, I'm so glad I don't have to see 16-year-old or 15-year-old Jay on the road right now because I'd be like, what is he doing?
I was an anxious driver. I wasn't a reckless driver, but it made me just as bad as if I was a reckless driver because I was like constantly stopping and like driving so slow and like not confident at all, like on the highway and getting lost and turning around. So it would have been more fun if I had just been reckless.
So that's one thing that I vividly remember is like the parking lot of our high school. There was a student parking lot, and you didn't get a parking spot until your junior or senior year. And really, seniors design got to like if you wanted to, you could like spray paint your parking spot,
Oh.
and but you had to do that like I want to say a week before school started. And a lot of the
Mhm.
football players and like cheerleaders were already there because they were doing practice and stuff. So they would like get their stuff done. Parking lot, a lot of stuff happened in the parking lot. Parking lot is also when you found out that they were doing the cell phone check that day, so you would leave your phone in the car.
Oh, so they would check if you even like had it on you?
Yeah, so you would see people coming back, and you'd be like, "What's going on?" Be like, "Oh, they're checking cell phones today," and then you go and keep your cell phone in the car.
Wow. I wonder if they even can do that now. I feel like the kids today are like, fuck you.
The kids today, they know too much.
Yeah,
I
they're
should
like,
be like,
okay.
technically, my homework is on here.
Exactly. Exactly. And they're like, well, I actually already had my phone embedded into my brain. So you can't, it's up here. So,
They'll be like, well, I don't know if these revealing pictures of my teacher will have anything to say. But you'd be like, all right, okay, I guess.
yeah. This is actually an emotional support phone.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like around the time, like early 2000s high school, there was so much panic around cell phones
I
and
thought you were gonna say at
around
the disco, but that too.
there was a lot of panic at the disco and I was right there. But but there was so much panic I felt like around cell phones and like having them at school or not having
Yeah.
them. And also Wikipedia. Everyone was so scared that we were going to be learning from Wikipedia.
Not only that we were going to be learning from Wikipedia, but that a Wikipedia that was in its infancy with like maybe that much information, they'd be like, well, you better not steal. You'd be like, that a sentence? Number one, I'm not going to plagiarize because I know how to move words around and I have a thesaurus. Don't worry. Number two, it's this, I can't write my paper just off of that.
Exactly. And it was like, there was so much ire from, like, I feel like every year we would meet in the library at my school and they would be like, do not write your papers based off Wikipedia. And we'd be like, okay.
They'd be like, you have to go to the
Okay.
library, go to this book, and write your pages, write your papers from that book.
Yeah. Use our weird old search system on our weird old computer and find what you need.
Oh, and I was like, as a person who actually enjoyed my English class, that was one of the things where I was like, because with English, sometimes you'd be like, I feel like I am just so far removed from what I'm actually even trying to talk about because I got to go through all these hoops to get to the research papers of other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It was so much time learning to write a research paper, which is a skill I am not going to use.
A skill that comedians use all the time. I do
Yeah.
a works cited at the end of every set. I do a whole bibliography.
Yeah, well, the way people reply to tweets these days, we might as well, you know.
MLA
And we're always
format.
like, well, actually, sources, please. I'm like, okay,
Sources, please. I said that I farted so loud today that it shook my apartment, and they'll be like, "Well, I would like to see some sources." You like this?
That's actually not even possible. It's like, okay, okay. Thank you. All right. So, let's get back to Teen Jay.
Yes.
Is Teen Jay dating? And if so, who's he dating? What is he doing with the people he's dating?
Oh my God. Okay. Alise, this is humbling. And I'm happy to say this now. My first girlfriend, like important girlfriend in high school, it was sophomore year? No, junior year. That was the big one. Junior year. Ended up being a prom date sort of situation. We started dating in the spring. She was a cheerleader.
So you were a football to cheerleader relationship.
So because I was still theater. I was friends with football players. I didn't have to play football at all. I was close enough with the football players that they would not make fun of me to my face. So that was always that was where you wanted to be.
Yes.
Because everyone's gonna make fun of everyone behind everyone's back because it's high school. But as long as like you can go to a lunch table and say hey to people, it's like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, as long as you can like live in peace from day to day.
You just didn't want to be publicly bullied. That was it. So I had a girlfriend. We went to prom together. And adult listeners, that does mean what you think it means. It was a very American prom.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was that was the V card. So it was.
Was it like all planned out to be? Did you go all the way of like planning it out to be special?
No, so like her friend's mom was the way that we got like the hotels for like after parties and stuff because her friend's mom worked at a hotel, which is like not good. I do not approve of this parenting style now, but looking back on it, thank you. You know what? Thanks. So
okay, to that friend's mom.
Yeah, and so this is like kind of it's not really bad. So you go to prom junior year And then after prom, you go like a little after party, and then like we had like our own hotel after party. And she was in the dance program at the Performing Arts School too, because she was a dancer. And so it was like one of those situations where I look back on that prom fondly. Junior prom was amazing. Senior prom, oh, terrible.
Oh no.
Terrible.
Okay, well we'll get that story in a moment.
Oh my Lord.
So this was all arranged for like after the after party.
Oh yeah, it was like after you saw like your friends after the after party, because like you go to prom and you know this, you eat first at some place.
Yes.
And then you go to prom, and then
a restaurant you think is fancy that you think back on and are like, that is not a fancy restaurant.
That you literally look back on now and you go, wow, we were terrors. That poor wait staff. Why would we do that to them?
Yes. I mean, literally for prom, it was like you'd get in a limo, you'd get insanely drunk in the limo, go to a restaurant, terrorize a restaurant, get to your school.
Get to your school, terrorize people that have dealt with you for the past either 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And they're like, we can't even send these kids home because we gave them the space to do this. So we can't even be mad at them for grinding all up on each other. We told them to do this. We told them to do this here because we wanted it to be safe under our eye. Look at us.
Nasty.
I know. Because I've dealt with high schoolers at a distance since. Like one time I had to like be like a person who helped at a theater camp for like, I want to say 2-3 weeks. And like they're high schoolers there, and you're like, y'all are disgusting.
Nasty.
I'm disgusted. Smell? Not only do they smell, they're like, I know why we were described this way, because I've been described this way in high school. Mm-hmm. I was like, y'all are just like little dirty puppies, all over each other. That's it.
And they're
y'all
humping.
Are just little puppies licking each other's faces.
And sometimes they get all excited and accidentally pee themselves. And you're like, oh, God, we got to clean you up now.
So I was dating after I dated her. There was another cheerleader that I would secretly make out with who had a boyfriend at a different high school. But he wasn't at our high school, so I didn't feel bad. Because, like, we never dated, but we, like, would always make out before and after, like, theater stuff. This is another person who was also in the dance program. So at this point, you can kind of tell that Jay... And then there was another thing where there was a private school about 20 minutes away. And they were like, this is going to sound misogynistic. And it was. They had, like, the girls... We, like, looked down on our high school peers because we saw them every day. And so we were like, oh, we want, like, these new private school girls. And so there were, like, excursions into, like, forbidden private school territory where we, like, I went to a dance with one of those girls, and then word got back to, like, people at our school, like, well, Jay, what are you doing going to? We don't even, why do you care so much about those girls? And I was like, why do y'all care so much about what I do in my free time?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm making friends, that I'm a person of the world.
Yeah, y'all
I'm a boy about Mississippi.
Yeah, I don't want to hang out with. I see y'all every day. I know how poorly y'all do on English exams. I don't want to have to deal with this.
We've talked a lot on the podcast about like the reputations other schools in your area would have, and like what that meant, because there was a private school close to my school too, and I feel like if you're a public school kid, the nearest private school is immediately sexy, no matter what's going on there. It's
like also like drug fueled, because you hear about that stuff. Because one of my friends definitely got expelled for selling drugs, but like whenever I thought about drugs in my school, I was like, yeah, but like these are like boring drugs. Like, what's going on over there?
I always imagine their drugs are like one of them like opens up a book and it's like in there, or like it's like Cruel Intentions, like she's got it in her necklace.
All of us watched Baz Luhrmann's like Romeo plus Juliet. Like we all like, what kind of ecstasy did they have over there?
Yes, the private school kids always had like a very sexy aura, and then the other public schools would have different reputations. Like there was
Oh,
another nearby public school that I thought had more punk street cred than our school, and I thought had cuter punk boys than our school.
I could see that. I could see that. I was a big fan of private school like parties too because I lived far away from my high school. I only went to my high school because of the theater program and because my mom worked for the school district. So I got like an automatic transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I would have gone to a different high school if it hadn't been for like all of those extenuating circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And what was that like? What was that high school's deal? Would it
Okay,
have changed your life?
yes, it would have been. No, I would not be who I am today. I don't think I'd be in New York. I don't think I'd be doing comedy. It just the foundation and the bedrock of the Jay Jurden that America knows and loves would
Mm-hmm.
be fundamentally shifted. So
Wow. It is crazy to think about like little things from middle school or high school, like little just like shifts, like because your mom worked here and you went to this school, you did this and had access to this that legitimately changes the course of your life.
oh yeah, I will, and also like I wasn't. There was no way for me to articulate what being bi or like queer meant in high school. So I
Mm-hmm.
had two friends that look like a lot of my exes, and looking back on it, but then there also were a couple of instances where I definitely told on myself. There was one time where there's this like there's always a guy. Okay, so I have never dated someone who works for a restaurant, but I have like flirted with a boy in high school who ended up becoming a chef, and I feel like I saw it, and I like
Yeah.
just got out of the way early, because
Yeah.
but we were like laying all over each other in theater, and like one of our teachers was like, "You can't do that," and I was like, "In theater?" Okay. I was
Yeah.
like.
I'm sorry, we're actually working on something. We're
I was
working on a
like,
piece.
nah, and so we just were like, it was like this level of intimacy between two high school boys that I was not aware of. And I was just like, well, we just, in the afternoons, if we have some free time, we go lay on each other and just chill out. Why not?
I feel like that's also such a classic like early sexuality, early high school thing where it's like, no, I just have a friend and we constantly have our hands down each other's pants and we're
Yeah.
friends. This is
Why
just
are
my friend.
you being so weird about it?
Yeah, we're naked, we're friends. Like,
And his name was Chaz, so I got a Chaz out of the way as far as like the
wow.
dating guys who are bad for you checklist.
That so yeah, I was going to ask like did you have a concept of yourself as bi at that time or
Oh, well, okay, there was no one. This is something that I am still working on and figuring out how to articulate
Mhm.
because my high school was very okay with lesbians. And by lesbians, I do mean our multiple state championship winning women's basketball team. So our basketball team,
Mhm.
the Lady Mustangs, were so good they defeated the homophobia. So there were people. This is like early 2000s Mississippi, and they were like,
Mhm.
I don't care what those girls do when they're not on the court. They can play some ball. We had I think there are like three people from when I was there that are in the WNBA now, and so like there were some, and so like there was
That's
this.
honestly a beautiful screenplay, by the way. You got to tuck that one away. That has Remember the Titans energy.
Right? But so there was like a clear like sexuality doesn't make anyone good or bad. Their accomplishments, their achievements, and their dedication is what we choose to focus on. There was one aspect of that that was for like lesbians and like sort of non-gender non-conforming studs at my high
Mhm.
school, but then there was no queer male representation. And so like I never was like, oh, I'm bi. but I would say things like, "Who's that new kid? He seems like he has some really cool stories, and I feel like we need to be nicer to this new kid who is handsome objectively. We've all agreed that he's a handsome looking dude.
We're talking about it. We're thinking about it. Everyone's thinking about it.
So if he's gonna get to read the Hamlet stuff today, can I read the Horatio stuff and not I just because they were close.
Yeah, and I want him to feel welcome at the school.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I'm thinking.
And you guys need to do a better job at welcoming him to the school. Like, see, like we don't know where he's from, what his parents do for a living. Like, when were you born? We don't know any of this stuff.
I'm just asking questions.
So that was like the extent of it for me.
Yeah, I feel I am vibing with what you're saying because I feel like at my school there was a big trend of girls being bi. Like in the early 2000s, girls could be bi, and it was very sexy for them to be bi.
You know who did that? I don't want to say this is how
I wonder if we're gonna say the same thing. So
Are you gonna say tattoo?
Tattoo? I was gonna say Misha Barton and Olivia Wilde
on the OC.
One bi plotline on the OC.
Listen. The OC ruined me too because I don't think anyone. Oh my God, because he looks like an X too. Seth Cohen. There has never been someone who I was like, man, oh man, we should be good friends.
I remember watching the episode where he stands on the kissing booth and tells Summer, acknowledge me now or lose me forever. And I started crying.
Man.
I absolutely, teen emo Alise, I was
Poor
crying.
Ryan. You know what I think? Poor Ryan, because we're nobody watching that show for him.
I have one friend who's like, I loved Ryan. And I'm like, you missed the point.
You missed the point of
the show.
I had a crush on Peter Gallagher before I had a crush on the main character of the OC.
Absolutely. Luke even. No, I didn't like Luke.
What else? Like, I'm trying to think of like if there were any other like telltale signs. When I got into a big fight my senior prom with my date, afterwards I went to my best friends. They were twins. I went to their house and I was like, man, why can't it just be like this? Just the boys. We don't need stupid girls on prom night. And then one of them was like, I'm going to go have sex with my girlfriend. But yeah, Jay. And so I was like, why can't we just watch the Phoenix Suns versus the San Antonio Spurs and have a good time with the homies?
Without all these chicks running around.
And girls starting fights that I probably also started. But you know what? When you're in high school, everyone else is wrong and you're right.
Okay, let's look through some of these photos that you sent.
Okay.
Let's get the full picture of Teen Jay now.
Oh, that was okay. This
goodness.
was like, so this is my good friend Christian Vance, who did play football. This is us probably at 14, 15. This is definitely freshman and sophomore year of high school. That was, so I think Brian Dawkins, who is on the left of this picture, that's like a Kobe jersey. So like we were still wearing like basketball jerseys, and that was like a big deal because I'm wearing a button up, and it's because like Jay-Z started wearing button ups, and I was like, I'm gonna be like Jay-Z. So I wore a button up, and that's a button up I want to say from the Gap, maybe. It was blue and white, like a gingham pattern. It had a fresh lineup for this photo. Yeah, those are the homies. I had like a little baby rap group with those two. Well, with Christian.
Oh, I mean, first of all, this would have been a perfect like cover for your CD. Like this would have been amazing. What I love about this picture is I feel all three of you look like such babies, but you can tell that you like think you look like adults.
Oh, we thought we were killing it.
Yes. And I will say that it's like three very distinct and slick fashion looks are being presented, but you are babies, and you, especially your friend in the middle, the way he's looking at the camera is like,
oh, Christian
I'm a man.
Is number one, he's one of the people who like, oh my God, it's so funny to me because whenever you do comedy, you're always like, who's a person who isn't doing comedy now? But I swear there would be one of the funniest people like to ever do like a podcast, and Christian is one of those people. There were
Mm-hmm.
like times in high school where I knew I was gonna get in trouble because of him. At one point, it was at the end of the school day, and so like we were like all leaving, and he like ran, and I was like, what's wrong? And he like was mooning everyone as he ran, because he knew if he ran, he had his pants down a little bit and his shirt was up, and the teachers couldn't catch him. A teacher tried to run and catch him and couldn't. It's like that's the kind of, in high school, if someone does that, you go, oh man, that's legendary.
Yeah,
We will
that's
never forget that. I'm talking about it now, and I'm in my
exactly.
30s.
Here you are. Here you are. We're talking about it now, and I even like I've been doing comedy for a long time. I've seen some really fucking funny people do really funny stuff, but I have never, like, the way that I've laughed watching someone like fuck around in high school, like where you would actually be crying so much that it's hurting you.
Oh, oh my God. There are so many things I cannot, at least just because I want people to like me on this podcast, there's so many things that I cannot say that we did. There's so many. I'm trying to think of one safe to tell story. Okay, so one time we were in the hall, and like this was like after, I don't know how to describe it, but like the high school like became super militant because we had like a new principal and a new vice principal, and they weren't gonna take any of our crap. And they had new hall passes, and like things were like getting way stricter. And so me and the girl who I ended up going to senior prom with were in the hallway, and we were just kind of like talking. And I had a hall pass and she didn't, and the vice principal was like, you two, what's going on? I was like, she is in the hall without a hall pass, I'm going to the bathroom. And just like got her in trouble. I'll never forget it. So I was like, that's what you get.
Well, I'm actually fine, so bye.
I was like, officer.
Did your high school, like, was there a lot of like shenanigans going on that caused them to want to
Well,
like crack down?
yeah, because we went from having like a cool principal to having like an ex-military principal, and then like one of his vice principals got bumped up to principal because then he retired, and she was like no nonsense, but then like she tried to be cool our senior year, and we were like, weren't you the lady who like yelled at us for the past
Yeah.
3 years?
All right, let's look at the last little bit of these photos because I know we've got some more.
Oh, we do. We definitely have some more. So this was like when I won an award.
Ooh.
I was part of. These were like a lot of AP kids. The girl who I went to prom with my senior year is definitely in this photo.
She's somewhere.
She's somewhere in the photo. I'm still friends with a few of these people. So this was a good group because this was like all of the homies. Christian, as you could tell, he's like right behind me. I like wore a tie because we had to dress up that day, and like to me that meant tie. So I'm kind of crushing this photo. I'm not one of those people who's like, man, I was killing it, but I was killing it in this photo.
I
My
will
two best
say you
friends.
stand out and like you're commanding the photo. You also have like a side clearly and you're
Oh,
giving it to the
oh,
camera.
I knew. My two best friends, Eric and Evan, are in the back at the top. Eric in the green, Evan in the white. Eric was like the one that had like game, but Evan was secretly the more handsome one. So there was always like a little bit of fight when girls were like, who was hotter out of the two of them? Cause girls would be like, my heart says one thing.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was constantly convincing myself that I was in an episode of The OC when I was in high school. So I was always creating this stuff where I would be like, I have two guy best friends and we could be best friends, or I could turn it into something deeply toxic and horrible. Like,
Courtney, my friend Courtney is down here. This is actually Courtney's photo. She sent it to me.
oh,
And she's down in the pink with the red, with like the red skirt. Courtney was a cheerleader, a gymnast. She went to Duke. Courtney was like one of my homegirls, but Courtney was also the first person to be like, Jay, are you gay? And I was like, Courtney, what are you? What kind of? No. Why? You want to hook up? She's like, no, I do not want to hook up with you, Jay. I'm trying to help you.
Jay, I don't want to hook up. I want to help.
That was like, we had that conversation, I want to say 3 times before I actually like told her I was bi. Because I was like, no, Corey, come on. Courtney, what you talking about?
But that's a good friend.
Good friend. A good friend. This photo is like on the stairwell. So like there used to be a stairwell for like the main floor. And then you could go up these stairs to get to like where your classes were junior and senior year. Because your classes sophomore year and like freshman year were in the freshman wing and then kind of on the base because they didn't want them going up and down the stairs. I don't know.
Yeah, there was always stuff like that. It was like once you're a sophomore, you can go up the stairs, and it's like okay.
But at least one time, I want to say I was like probably 15, and we'll say I was because that's in sync with the podcast. I fell down these stairs. Oh, God, just ruined the day. It ruined my day. It happened after lunch. I definitely had a good day going because I don't know where the confidence to not pay attention going down these stairs. I just fell down the stairs. I was like, this is it.
And did people see?
Yes, everyone saw. We were all in the hallway. I wasn't by myself.
Horrible.
I still think about that. I have stress dreams about falling down those stairs.
That is one of those experiences in like middle school that will like you'll never forget.
Oh, you'll be like,
I will never forget this boy, Austin, telling me whispering to me, there's something on your skirt. And it was the first time I ever got my period on like a piece of clothing.
Oh no.
And I'll never, like, I hear him saying there's something on your skirt in my nightmares.
Oh no.
Never.
Can I tell you like the worst? Okay. When we were in 5th grade, one of my classmates got her period. And because we were not adults, the teacher sent all of the boys out to go like play, to have like a discussion with the girls about what this kind of stuff means. And like one of my guy friends, because keep in mind, I have been going to school with these people, some of these people since 4th and 5th grade that I was in high school with.
And we're dealing with Mississippi public schools here, correct?
Yes. So one of my friends was like, man, I hope a girl gets her period every day if we get a free recess. And I was like...
I literally, all I can think about is this poor girl getting her period, and then like the entire day is disrupted, and they're like, she's like, all the boys were sent outside, all of the girls have to have a meeting, and her just being
we
like,
were not gonna be reading. I think what were we focusing on, like the Devil's Arithmetic. It was like an English class, Miss Whitehouse, but you know.
What while we're here, what sex ed, if any, did you get?
Sex ed? Are you kidding me? In Mississippi? In Mississippi, sex ed is them saying, you remember when Veronica was here last semester, but she's not? I took AP Bio though, so we like had to discuss sexuality, not sexuality, but like the gametes and like sexual organs in a very professional way in like... AP Bio was 11th grade. And so Mr. Powell, at one point, Brian Dawkins, who you saw in a photo, he asked Mr. Powell, he was like, are blue balls real? He just straight up asked it, and the rest of the class was like, are they?
What did he say?
And so Mr. Powell was like, no, blue balls aren't. He's like, blue balls aren't real. What this means is that people get sexually frustrated, and so maybe your frustration, you think it's manifesting physically. And then Brian was like, but what about blue? He was like, well, Brian, on some older white men, some of the veins show more prominently in the scrotum, so that's where it comes from. And it was a very like, it was an honest, it's a good explanation. But like at that point, as high schoolers, I was like, we were like ready for like an answer, and he just told us the truth. Gross.
Yeah, just like very soberly was like, well, actually, scientifically, no.
Yeah.
All right, let's see which other ones we have. Okay. Let's see. What is this?
We got an iconic look. We got a popped collar on a green polo that I'm pretty sure is a Lacoste polo, or it might be a Ralph Lauren with a pink horse. I don't know. I can't tell because over it I'm wearing a polo hoodie, wearing the hood. The jeans are definitely from Abercrombie or Hollister. I can tell from the wash.
Yes. A classic 2000s.
And I have on a white t-shirt underneath the polo. So I'm doing a lot of stuff wrong. But I'm doing a lot of stuff right for the time period.
The green collar popping out of the hoodie is really special.
Honestly, this is a serve and a stunt. I'm stunting hard.
Yeah, and honestly, the girl next to you looks like she's feeling it. She's looking at you.
Oh yeah. I want to say that I know who this is. This is Hadassah. This was in theater. This is in one of the theater classes. I don't know what we were doing. I was watching a scene, probably, I'd assume, or listening. But yeah, you know what? Let's say this is probably 2005. I was killing
This quality of photo says 2005 too.
You know
when we all had like a giant like digital camera, and we would go to an event, and you would take 100 photos of nothing and upload all of them to Facebook.
Yes. Yeah, upload all of them. You wouldn't even be like, oh, let's like wait and just upload the ones with people. It'd be like, all of these photos need to be up now.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of that, many duplicates, it doesn't matter. Like hundreds of photos of the same evening. All right, let's move. Okay.
Oh,
this is very slick here.
This is gotta be junior year. Once again, we're talking 15, 16. Because those are like younger girls than us. This is like Gerard, Michael Terry. Michael Terry was like a soccer superstar. Gerard, who has his head down, he was a football superstar. He was the running back that won us our opening game senior year. And like ran and then just like kept running like in the game. And so we are at a restaurant that is probably not that nice. And the reason I'm looking like this, I can tell you what exactly happened. There was like a person who I was beefing with hard at this event. Because in high school, sometimes they'd invite people to places because this had to be after I had a car because we were just going wherever we wanted to go. And so like I was looking at the table of people. I was like, why the fuck are you here? I was like, why the fuck is this person at this party that we're trying to have?
Yeah, it's high school and Real Housewives are very similar in that way, where it's like, why do you you would invite someone to your party who you hated so that you could fight with them at the party.
Oh, so you could be like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Like, didn't think you'd show up, except I knew that you were going to be here.
But like I want to say the two girls in this photo, like Erica and Orchid, I think that's who that is. They were like younger than us. So this is also, I don't use this word in a way that is dangerous, but like the predatory habits of older high school boys when they start inviting sophomore girls to stuff because they have a car. That's what was going on. Because I remember being like, we got to drive these girls. They can't drive. And it's like, Jay, last year you couldn't drive. I was like, yeah, but it's different.
The age differences seemed so huge then.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Like it seemed like such a world away for someone to be a freshman and you're a junior when really it's like 2 years. But also there's puberty. There's puberty in those 2 years.
Well, in Mississippi, they put a lot of hormones in food, so everyone's gone through it by middle school.
That's true. 5th grade is early for that girl to have gotten her period.
I'm not lying.
All right. So I feel like we've come to the end here. This has been such a great episode.
I loved it.
We end every episode with this question. So, Jay,
yes,
if you could talk to teen Jay today, what would you tell him?
I would tell him develop better time management skills because in 2020, you're going to have a lot of free time on your hands that you should have been more productive with. I would also say don't pressure yourself into like having a perfect high school experience, especially senior prom, because high school is just gonna be messy and sloppy no matter what. And maybe try a little harder at math. That's it.
Yeah, maybe learn a little math.
Just a little, a tiny amount.
Yeah, just to get by. But then again, we
Yeah.
all have calculators in our pockets anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
Jay, it's been so great having you on the show. You are a true delight. And for everyone listening at home, this has been the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast.